Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet and making all the things here in northwest London. You can find me on Instagram at hippie_Nikki. You can find me on Ravelry as Nikki Hippie, and if you search for Tea and Possibilities under the groups tab on Ravelry, you will find our group right there. There will also be a chatter thread for this episode in the group, which I will link to down below. And as always, I put quick links to everything I mention, including that chatter thread, in the box below. And if you want juicier show notes, they will be linked down there as well. As always, I like to start by saying a massive thank you to any new viewers. Thank you so much for giving the podcast a shot. I really do appreciate it. And to my returning viewers, thank you for coming back every episode. As always, I always say this, I don't know why, but thank you, I do appreciate it. This week's tea is chamomile, actually. I haven't had any chamomile tea in a very, very long time, but I just felt the need of it today. I've had a fairly hectic weekend, and I'm actually podcasting a little later than usual, so I will be probably trying to keep this quite short due to losing the light. But yeah, I feel like chamomile was very much needed. So as I said, we are fighting the light, which I haven't had to do for the last couple of episodes because I've been really, really good and started nice and early. Not so much this week. So let's just move on to Whipped Up. I'm sure it will shock absolutely nobody to hear that I have no foes this week. Oh, I was on such a streak as well, wasn't I? There was a foe every episode this year so far. And I was kind of thinking I might have one this week, but unfortunately not. I have been quite monogamous over the last couple of weeks. I have not picked up my pavement, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I decided to cast on a baby knit instead, and that was the cable that I was going to use to do the sleeves on my pavement. So I'm going to get this one done before I go back to my own sweaters. But it is a garment. Yes, it is. It's just a super miniature one. So this is the Baby Vertebrae by Kelly van Niekerk. I am knitting it out of Homespun House BFL sock in the Puddle Jumper colourway. And this is the second time I've knit this pattern. I knit one at the end of last year while I was off sick, and I knit that in a bright red paint box yarn acrylic, and I did that in DK weight, whereas this is, as I said, it's a sock yarn, so it is a fingering weight yarn, and it is absolutely beautiful. I actually think that this is quite similar to Industrial Kingfisher, which is what my pavement is knit out of, and that's quite ironic when you consider that I'm knitting this instead of my pavement. However, in the skein, where it looked quite similar to Industrial Kingfisher, when it knits up, I think it's quite different because it's got a lot more like orangey, rusty bursts in it, and it's a lot bluer than Industrial Kingfisher. I actually find that a lot more green. And I absolutely love this, and for some reason it reminds me of Peter Rabbit. I'm not sure, I think it's the shade of blue in this and the kind of orangey brown that's a bit rabbity coloured maybe. But because it reminds me so much of Peter Rabbit, I might actually have to get the book to go with this as a gift because, you know, Beatrix, but who doesn't love Beatrix Potter, right? Like, I think that would go down really well with a baby, to have like the little cardigan and the little book. I have to say, I'm knitting the 6 to 12 month size, and I did talk about this in the last episode where I said that I do try to knit the larger sizes for baby knits, partly because they will last longer. They're not just going to be worn a few times and then immediately grown out of, and they will have growing room, so that I feel like you get a lot more use out of them. However, having recently met a 7-month-old baby, I'm not so sure this is going to fit up to a year old. I mean, I know nothing about babies. I know they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but I don't know, I feel like it would have fitted him. So I don't know. It will fit when it fits, I guess. The reason why this isn't a faux, as you can see, I've done quite a lot of it. I've done, the body is complete. I've started on one of the arms, so I've only got arms and the body ribbing to do. So I'll have it finished very, very soon. Particularly as I've been quite monogamous. It was my travel knitting when I went to Munich last weekend. But I don't know, I really struggle with arms. I really do. And this is not a Sleeve Island complaint whatsoever. I mean, I'm quite happy to be on Sleeve Island at the moment, particularly baby knits, like, done. It's like a holiday. Sleeve Island is a destination as far as I'm concerned. But what I find really tricky about it is I can never just pick them up and go. I always end up picking up the sleeve multiple times. I think this is the 4th attempt, and I think I'm finally happy with it. And the reason for that is that you always get the little hole in the armpit. And I currently don't have one. I watched various YouTube videos and I looked up a couple of blog posts for tips, and mainly the tips seem to be pick up loads more stitches to close that hole. If you do know of a really good YouTube video or YouTube tutorial to help with that, to make it really finished and polished looking, I would really appreciate it if you could drop that link in the comments, because obviously I want to make sure that I'm picking up my pavement sleeves really nicely when I get round to that. In the meantime, I'm quite happy. Picking up extra stitches and then just decreasing down seems to have worked quite well, because I just don't have that little armpit hole. But I find that really frustrating, and I'm obviously not the only one that finds it frustrating, because there's all these blog posts and videos about it, but I just find it really annoying. I don't want to have to go in and when I weave in my end, close the hole. I don't want to have to do that. I want it to be finished when I do it. So if you do have any tips or know of any great videos, please send them my way. I am looking to improve my finishing. But there you go. It's just a teeny tiny little cardigan. Wouldn't fit me, which is a shame. But I really do. The more I knit baby vertebrae, the more I think I absolutely need one for myself. So I will be casting on one of these at some point for me. Before I move on to my next whip, I should point out that I did take my baby vertebrae on holiday with me. I say holiday, it was just a little trip to Europe. But I did take it away with me, and I did knit on the plane. I only had hand luggage, so it had to be in my bag whether I knitted it on the plane or not. And I didn't have any problems. I flew with EasyJet, and all I did was I removed the needles from the cable. Completely forgot my cable stoppers, so just kind of tied the cable together and hoped for the best. But I put them, took the needles off, and I put them in a little pocket in my bag with like pens and things like that. And then I put the project bag in my hand luggage, and they didn't I didn't get stopped, they didn't get searched, they didn't get taken away from me, and they weren't interchangeable metal needles. So I was fully prepared to have them taken away from me. I was, I had a page up on my phone. I was ready to order some so they'd be there when I got home. But it was fine. There didn't seem to be any problem. I think it might have been just because they were really, really small. I mean, they're sock weight needles, so I didn't have any problems. But I just thought I'd share that because I was a bit concerned and I wondered whether I should have bought wooden needles. But no, I didn't have any issues whatsoever, and they were metal. So there we go. I don't think I would ever take needles that weren't interchangeable, because there is always that fear that they might take it away, and at least then I knew that, well, if they take them away, that's fine. Like, I keep the project and it can just be picked up as soon as I get home. My next project it's one you will have seen before. You're probably going to get sick of these before I finish them, but it is my Rock and String Creations vanilla sock. And as I said, this is knit in Rock and String Creations, and it is the Seaside Treasure colourway. And I have barely touched this, I'm not going to lie to you. I finished the heel flap, which you can't see. I finished the heel flap. I need to turn the heel and pick up the gusset and work the gusset, because then I can just put it in my bag for kind of brainless knitting, as I like to call it. Unfortunately, I just haven't had time this past couple of weeks. All the knitting time I've had, I have just wanted to get involved with my baby vertebrae so it can be finished as soon as possible. And I just feel like socks don't have a deadline, ever. Because ultimately, the baby knit needs to be done, ready for a baby shower in a few months' time. There are a couple of other things that I want to knit as well, so that has a definite deadline. And even if I don't get them ready for the baby shower, I definitely need to finish them before the baby is going to outgrow them, because that's kind of the point. But socks, my foot's not going to grow. Like, my foot's not going to get any longer or any wider. My ankles, my calves are unlikely to grow massively or shrink massively. So I don't feel like there's any kind of deadline on a sock, really. I'm quite happy just to plod along, although now I'm touching it and it's really soft and buttery and delicious. And I just kind of want to knit on it now. So maybe I will actually do that this evening when I finish editing. While this podcast is exporting, maybe I will turn my heel and pick up the gusset. I have to be honest with you. I actually, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I was actually hoping to turn the heel at my boyfriend's house so that he could see and be amazed and impressed. So yes, I actually was saving it in order to impress somebody, which is ridiculous when you put it like that, isn't it? So I whipped through my whips pretty quickly because that's all I've had on. As I said, I've been fairly monogamous, which is probably why I've got a big chunk of my baby vertebrae done. It's been a pretty busy couple of weeks, what with work and going out, and obviously I was travelling for a fair bit as well, so I haven't had loads of knitting time. But I have, I feel, made the most of it because I've got a project that's pretty much finished. So can probably guarantee you a foe next time, guys. So watch this space. So that's it really for Whipped Up. I have no stash to share. As I mentioned in the last episode, I don't do a great deal of stashing. And thank you so much for the comments and messages I received about that. And it really does vary from person to person. You know, I had so many people saying, I absolutely love my big stash, it's amazing. And other people going, I love my tiny little curated stash. And also some people saying that the size of their stash wasn't right for them at all and they really needed to work on it to make it bigger or smaller, and that they were going to start doing that. So thank you so much for engaging in that chat, it was really interesting. And so many people were on board for the Summer of Socks Cow. I'm really excited. I've already had 2 people message me about prizes, so if you would like to get involved and send a prize for the Summer of Socks Cow, it will be happening. I'm almost certain it's going to be June, July and August. It's going to be the full 3 months because that is summer. Let's make a load of socks. Let's get into our stashes and just make more space for sock yarn come winter. Obviously I'll talk about that a little bit nearer the time. Probably sort of in April, May time, I'll mention a bit more about that. But start buying sock yarn, start, you know, having a hunt through your stash, queuing it up, getting it ready because it's coming. We are going to have a Summer of Socks Cow. One of the things I have been really busy with recently is something I want to talk about in Knit and Natter. And I am aware that there are some people who are just here for the knitting content, so that is it for this week. It is fairly light on the ground. But if you are interested in what else I've been up to outside of knitting, join me now for Knit and Natter. One last thing to mention before we get into Knit and Natter is Unravel. I will be there on Saturday the 23rd of February. I'm not sure how long I'll be there for, probably only a couple of hours or so, but do come over and say hello. Do show me what you are buying and what you intend to buy and what you think I should go and have a look at. I will see you there, hopefully. I wanted to talk about my running, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast a few times about getting into running and starting to fall in love with running because it was not something I enjoyed doing at all for the longest time, but now I really do love it, she says, having not really run properly for the past couple of weeks. But we're going to come to that, don't worry. This year, having fallen in love with running last year, I wanted to set myself some challenges. And there were multiple reasons for that. I think that having a challenge is really good for you and it makes you head out into the cold, wet evenings and get your runs in because you know you have to be ready for something coming up. And a lot of it was also a personal thing. I wanted to make sure that I was doing things for me and keeping myself fit, because being fit is something that's really important to me. I think I've mentioned before that I have hypermobility, and I also get quite mentally bogged down if I'm not moving enough. So for me, exercise is really good for my body and for my mind. So that's for me. There are some people who hate running, some people who hate exercise, and that is absolutely fine too. As long as you're doing, as with stash, as long as you're doing what makes you happy and feel good, I think that's entirely up to you. So this year, one of my goals was to take part in 2 half marathons, and I'm signed up to one. I'm doing the Grand Union Canal Marathon, half marathon, not a whole one, a half marathon along the Grand Union Canal in April, so that'll be at the beginning of April. And I'm actually doing that to raise money for work. It's definitely a personal challenge for me, and it's something that I would have been doing anyway, but I wanted to raise money for the charity that I work for because I really believe in what we do. So I'm going to put my Just Giving link down below, and if you would like to sponsor me, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much. Or even if you just want to go and read about what my charity does and you know what our goals are, please feel free to have a look. I have signed up for a second marathon, half marathon. Why do I keep saying marathon? It's like I'm, you know, my subconscious wants me to do a full marathon, and I'm not going to. Absolutely not. No. But I have tried to sign up for a second half in October, and that is the Royal Parks half marathon. And I went into the ballot and I didn't get a place, but I had paid, so I was given a free entry into the second ballot. So I'm hoping to hear next week that I have got into it. I really, really want to run the Royal Parks, and I'm just really keen because it'd be such a beautiful run apart from anything else. And I'm hoping, against hope, that I do get into that. So cross your fingers for me for that one, please. But if I don't, I'm going to potentially look at joining a team. I tend, when I do these things, to ask for donations and raise money for charity because, yes, I get something out of it on a personal level, but I may as well try and do some good as well. I believe Mind has a team. I'm not sure how much I'd have to raise in order to get the space, but I'm going to look into it. But I'm crossing my fingers that I can run as an independent, and I will hear this week. So send all your positive thoughts, please. I would really appreciate it, because if I can't get into the Royal Parks half, I need to go back to the drawing board and have another look. Ideally, I wanted to do a half in the spring, so the April one that I'm doing, and another one in the autumn, so the Royal Parks is in October. I didn't really want to do anything in the summer because last summer was so crazy hot. I just don't think I could face doing anything if it's like that again. So I'm really hoping that I can fit in another one this year. I definitely can, and I would be really annoyed with myself if I didn't. So if you do know of any other fantastic half marathons in and around London in the autumn of this year, do let me know, just in case I need to sign up for another one. But that's not all. I am also doing the Walk for Wight in May. So this is a 26 point something mile walk across the Isle of Wight from one side to the other. And a friend of mine does it most years. I think she's done it every year I've known her. And I have always said I wanted to go along and do it, but it tended to fall at a point in May when I was always busy, so I was never able to do it. But this year I am free. I decided to prioritise this above all other things, and I made sure that I got it in, and I have signed up, and there we go. I will be trotting across the Isle of Wight at some point in May, and I've taken the next day off because I am going to need a massage. And the reason I wanted to share that with you, apart from just kind of going, this is what I've been doing instead of knitting a lot of the time, I run 3 times a week. I do a lot of hip workouts to try and kind of get a good amount of strength in my legs because I am really slow. So I want to strengthen up my legs to try and get a bit faster, because much as I love running, I know those last 3 miles are probably going to be a bit of a killer, so the quicker I can get through them, the better. And the reason why I'm sharing this, apart from trying to demonstrate what I'm doing with my time when I'm not knitting and therefore not getting much knitting done, is because I am not a natural fitness person. I don't relish putting on my gym gear and heading out in the rain and going to the gym. I don't relish getting up before work to do a HIIT workout. I am doing quite a lot of HIIT workouts at the moment to try and strengthen my legs, get them ready for long distance running. I don't relish those things. I don't leap out of bed smiling about it. I'm not, you know, in love with it in that way. Given the choice, I would always choose to eat some cake, watch a film and knit something. You know, this is not my kind of natural habitat, running. But I do it because I know it's good for me. It's good for me physically and it's good for me mentally. And I am incredibly lucky that I am fairly healthy, I'm pretty fit, I'm financially able to do races because you do have to pay for your spot. and I have no dependents, which means I do have the time to give to myself to go and train for these things. However, as I said, I'm a naturally lazy person. I hate doing things. I hate getting off the sofa if I don't have to. I'm just incredibly lazy. That's my default. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. So if you're feeling like you want to get a bit fitter for any reason, because I don't think that fitness has to have anything to do with weight whatsoever. For me, as I said, I do it because it helps my joints feel a lot better. It helps my asthma. And I generally feel a lot better in myself. My mood is always better, I sleep better. So I do it for all those other benefits. The fact that, you know, I have toned up a little bit, I haven't really lost any weight. Those are just side things that happen. So I just wanted to share it in the off chance that there's somebody out there who thinks, oh, I'm not really into fitness, but I'd quite like to be a bit fitter just for my health. You can do it. I ran for years. I did weightlifting classes, I did swimming, I did yoga, and then I fell in love with running. I hated it, absolutely hated it, and now I love it. And it's just because I've done it so much and I have been really committed to it, and it's only 3 runs a week, and because of that I see the difference and I see the positive impact it has on my life, and that's why I want to keep doing it. If I can do it, anyone can. So if you have the slightest inclination whatsoever to go to a Pilates class or go swimming, or, you know, do what I do and try running, please do it. It will be so good for you. As I said, mentally it's really good for you. You sleep better and it's just great. And it's also fantastic just to follow your bliss. If you genuinely want to try something, go and do it and it will be great. I said on episode 1 of this podcast, just do it. And I meant that about podcasting. I meant that about starting this podcast. And it's been a fantastically positive thing for me. And I feel the same about anything. If you want to try some fitness stuff, just do it. Make sure you get advice from your doctor, of course, if you do need to. Have a chat with the people in the gym. That's what they're there for. But give it a go. You might find you really, really enjoy it. And you might enjoy how it makes you feel. As I said, I will be running the Grand Union Canal Half Marathon at the beginning of April. As I said, I will be running that for the charity that I work for, which is Remembered, and we do the There But Not There project. So if you would like to sponsor me, I would be so grateful. Thank you so much, and I will put a link just down below. Well, that has been an incredibly short episode, and I can already see the light is going, but I think we might be having a storm, so I think that might be why the light is a bit weird. So I'm going to go. I'm going to get this edited and out for the beginning of the week, and hopefully next time I see you, I will have another foe. Have a lovely couple of weeks, and I will see you very soon for another cup of tea. Take care, bye.